Hey guys, it looks like we're off to a rocky start with the Harry Potter series. I'm not happy about some of these casting decisions or some other stuff I'm hearing about the story and the production. Let's start off with the Black Snape doesn't make any sense. That's already been released. Now we have the new casting, and as you can see, there's been some race swaps here between Hermione in 2001 and Hermione in 2025. I don't think that's a good decision. I think it's going to come back to bite him in a few different ways. First off, Hermione is frequently called a mudblood. And I think that is going to take on a whole nother kind of connotation when she is dark skinned and not white. I think we're going to end up addressing a lot of racial politics, particularly with the Black Snape now. And for me, I like the fantasy shows and these immersive worlds they try to draw us into, in part because they don't have the exact same racial bickering that we have in real life. We see ad nauseum about you know, conversations about race. The media is talking about it constantly. Politicians are talking about it constantly. It is being forced into our media now in ways that I think is a bad idea. Hermione isn't just a small character. She's one of the major three characters, and she was played, I would say, quite well by Emma Watson. I think she was one of the better child actors and actresses, which is why I think she got several films afterwards that she did quite well in. Whereas I think the actors that played Harry and Ron, they didn't quite have the same level of success after Harry Potter. Though, of course, they made a ton of money, and I'm sure they could have done a little more if they wanted to, right? I also think that these people, I frequently see people on X and elsewhere say that, well, we can't criticize this because, she's a young actress. And obviously, I'm not criticizing her. I'm criticizing the people who made the decision. I understand it's a job and she wants to take the job. I don't think my disagreement with the race swapping in any way is going to cause this young girl distress. I think it is the case that Hollywood child actors go through all sorts of trouble, but it's not from people making videos online questioning their acting skills. It's the living the fast life, the Hollywood drugs, partying, the parents stealing the kids' money and not giving it to them, the just the crazy things that 18-year-old suddenly is worth millions of dollars. They do a lot of crazy things and crash out sometimes in terrible ways. There's a lot of problems with child actors, and in some ways, obviously, I'm sure a lot of kids would love to have been cast in that role. But in many ways, I think I wouldn't envy their childhoods and some of the things they're going to go through in this role, particularly since they're basically going to be known for this for pretty much the rest of their lives, I would say. I would also say, from a plot perspective, when you switch these characters, particularly the more sympathetic ones, to darker skinned, I think it gives the writers a lot of leeway to insert that kind of racial narrative. Whereas if they were the darker skinned villains, I think you wouldn't be playing on it as much because you wouldn't want to make the villain seem sympathetic because he's a victim of racism or something. Whereas if they are good characters like Snape and Hermione, I think there is a much stronger temptation to force that racial narrative. J.K. Rowling does say she's okay with the race swapping of Hermione. Some people even say it's not race swapping Hermione, and Hermione is, she's supposed to be this amorphous character and she could be black, white, or whatever. But obviously, with the nostalgia of the book, she was drawn white. Everyone knows that she was a white character. They talk about her face going white, face going red. Those are things, you don't see brown skinned people, their face going red or white, right? So it's obvious that J.K. Rowling envisioned Hermione as a white woman. J.K. Rowling even says that she kind of envisions Hermione kind of as a accentuated version of herself when she was younger. And I don't think you would envision yourself as a different race, right? That doesn't really make sense. And given the setting, it's obviously supposed to be a white character. I don't think the race swap was a good idea. And I think if you look at, the films, which obviously brought it to life and did quite well commercially. I think the budget was like, 1.2 billion for the films. They made like $8 billion in revenue. So they did, crazy profit margins on those films, which is why they're trying to do another cash grab with this series. Those films, which everyone's seen, obviously show Hermione being played by Emma Watson, a white woman. And now we're going to suspend disbelief to change the race of one of the tentpole characters of this huge franchise. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't even think this is going to appeal to the woke people because J.K. Rowling is super woke on race and she's perfectly fine making Hermione black, white, any race of person because she's very woke and very progressive, except for the trans issue, which is why she is absolutely hated by the media. And she is very much reviled by the woke mob. So it's not like the woke people are going to give her credit and say she's not transphobic or stop hating J.K. Rowling all the time. I mean, I try to watch Harry Potter reviews and book reviews sometimes, and you literally see even YouTubers doing like this disclaimer to disown J.K. Rowling and saying, oh, how awful bigoted she is. So it's not like she's going to get any woke points out of doing this. And the woke mob is not going to support this because they don't support J.K. Rowling. On the other hand, the people who want fidelity to source material and don't like the DEI race swapping are also not going to like this, which is a bad start that you've really angered both sides before you've even started. And you're going to spend many billions of dollars on this series, so it has to do well. It has to have broad appeal. Now, some people also say that, race swapping Hermione to make her dark skin is going to appeal to dark skinned people all over the world. And I just don't think it will. I mean, I've read all the books. I didn't in any way like Harry Potter more or less because of the race of the characters. I like to be drawn into the world, but it's not like them being black would have sold me on Harry Potter in a way that them being white wouldn't. I think most people feel that way, which is why Harry Potter has been translated into dozens of different languages all over the world. It's a very popular series, and yet despite people in Japan loving it, people all over Latin America, Africa, everywhere liking Harry Potter, they somehow determined that this DEI insertion is going to make it more popular, and it won't. It's going to backfire. I think they're on track to lose an historic amount of money. And by the way, I also don't think the books are particularly friendly to adaptation to film anyway. I think the TV series, like when I look at, let's say, Tolkien and his book series, well, his, Lord of the Rings and, The Hobbit and some of the appendixes that have been adapted. When I look at how that's been adapted, Lord of the Rings was adapted fantastically by Peter Jackson. And that's been, kind of a tentpole example of how to adapt a good book to film. But I would say the Harry Potter books were significantly better than the Harry Potter films. And they tried with that to a much greater degree to keep to the fidelity of the series and not woke everything up. Now that we have this racial swapping going on already, I think there's a lot of reasons to be concerned that they're not even trying to bring the original books to life, which means that I would expect it to be even worse than the than the movies, which weren't terrible, but they weren't. I mean, I don't think the Harry Potter movies were anywhere near as good as Lord of the Rings. I'm not saying they were bad. They were, passable to enjoyable depending on the film. I thought they kind of got better towards the end, but this just gives me a lot of worries about the TV series, how it's going to live up to expectations. And I'm not outraged by it, but I am disappointed that they chose to do a lot of casting decisions that are already going to take away from, I think, a lot of people's enjoyment of the series. But what? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you like this series? Do you think that this series choice to race swap Snape, race swap Hermione, are you excited for this? I'm already pretty nervous, and I'm getting a lot of feelings that this is not going to go well. And when we get more leaks about the plot and the actors and actresses go around and talk about what they like about Harry Potter, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of woke insertions that they mention are going to be put into the plot. Because J.K. Rowling is very woke, and she is willing to retcon to the maximum degree, particularly the virtue signal. I do like the original works, but I don't like some of the changes she's approving here, and I don't trust HBO to do a good adaptation, particularly given some of the latest disasters like The Last of Us. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below.